What's up, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of On the Bluff. I'm your host, Christian Fowler, and joining me, as always, my co-host, Gabe Coon. Gabe, what's up, brother? How you doing?
I'm hanging in there, brother. I have no complaints, man. It was a little cold over the weekend.
It was.
A little cold. But shout out to MLGW for making me not lose power, and most people kept their power. That was good. We didn't have a bunch of ice, though, so it's probably easier for them. But I'm doing well. You?
I'm
hanging
good.
in there? Good?
Good. Were you mainly inside this weekend, I'm assuming?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I didn't go outside to do anything. I was child rearing and watching sports. That was the gist of the weekend.
It's not bad. It's not a bad weekend at all.
Yeah.
I worked for 23 hours straight.
What? Why?
So we do all the first horizons in the area.
Were you outdoor too?
Yeah, I was pushing snow, removing snow from parking lots at all the first horizons. So
it builds character, man.
It does.
It builds character.
I got out.
It's a different you today, man. Like I can tell you just have a different edge about you. You got calloused hands.
Hadn't had a haircut in 3 weeks. I think that's what it is.
I haven't had a haircut in 6 months, brother. We're not the same.
No, we're not. I would have a full-on fro if I waited that long.
Yeah, your hair does tend to grow out.
It grows out, not down. Yeah, it's too thick. But yeah, anyway, that was it. From 3 a.m. to 2 a.m. So from whatever early Friday morning when it started snowing until early.
Did you sleep well after?
It was honestly probably the best sleep I've ever gotten in my life. I usually take a minute to fall asleep, bare minimum, probably 15, 20 minutes of just laying there. I've never fallen asleep as soon as my eyes shut. That happened this weekend. And
That's
it was
nice.
glorious.
That's nice.
And I'm like a wake up in the middle of the night kind of guy also.
Really?
But I didn't even wake up once until 9:30 and then went back to sleep until 11:30. So it was glorious sleep.
I am not a light sleeper. If you can just look at me, you can tell I'm probably not a light
sleeper. It fits.
Yeah, if you sort of resemble a bear as a human being, you hibernate, Like Taylor has to shake me awake. Sometimes she gets scared for my life, so that's how that works.
So yeah, that was about it for me. Saturday night we had everybody over and watched Steelers-Ravens game. Michael is a big Steelers fan.
Nice. Yeah.
And he had bought in.
Yeah, Michael. I bet you're super excited for the future.
When Pittsburgh was 10-3, he had fully bought in. And I was like, dude.
Why? What about them made you want to buy in? I remember how many conversations. I think I asked you this at one point during the year when the Steelers started 10-3. I asked a bunch of guests that talk about the NFL. Just do you actually buy into them? And every single person said no.
No.
Why would you buy into the Pittsburgh Steelers when their offense can, if you stop the run, they become stagnant? We saw that. We saw that immediately. So the Ravens stopped the run, got up by 21, and there's no way the Steelers can get back into that game.
No.
They're the Iowa football of the NFL right now.
100%.
That's what they are. And they even the freaking jerseys are similar. It's the same idea. Play good defense, special teams, make some plays, and then offense, we're going to be as boring as humanly possible.
Yeah. No, 100%. And we'll talk more about that later in the Hot Three. We'll cover the entire spread from the playoffs this weekend, but we'll start with Memphis and ECU, which was also over the weekend. That
Kitty's overlays, great. Shiver me timbers.
You are not a pirate.
He's also playing a clip from Dodgeball.
Yes, I'm not a pirate.
So
you're not a pirate.
If you're not watching on YouTube, our overlay for this one is Memphis. I don't even know what Kenny's grammar's doing here.
Memphis is Shiver Me Timbers versus ECU. Is his overlay.
That is what we have.
They made ECU walk the plank, mate.
Yeah, there you go. Also, something I didn't know: CJ Walker still plays college basketball. He is in his
dude? Seriously, what the hell?
I remember
he transfers so he can play Memphis too. I'm convinced.
Yeah, no, me too. Because Memphis actually recruited him heavily out of high school. I remember watching him in high school, and he was somebody that I really wanted Memphis to get because he was, super athletic, long, good around the rim. think where did he end up going? To Oregon, straight out of high school?
Oregon and then UCF.
Yeah. And now apparently at East Carolina. So, yeah,
I mean, he's done though now, right? Like, there's no more eligibility. This is 6 years. I swear this is 6 years. Like, you can't – no more CJ Walker.
Yeah. But, I mean, how much can you really take from this game? Once again, this is going to be the theme of conference play. Inferior opponent. Memphis handled them very well in the first half. They were up by 14, and they kind of let go of the rope a little bit and allowed ECU to stick around. And I think that's kind of the biggest talking point for me from this game is because we've talked about this with conference play. Can Memphis keep up the energy and keep up the effort and just put these teams away? Fortunately, they did so in this game. They didn't ultimately let ECU come back and win it. But if you're up by 14 and a half, you would like for Memphis to kind of keep the foot on the gas, squash ECU, and move on. So I don't know. It's not concerning. I'm not going to use the word concerning. But
I don't know. But it's part of it that concerns me.
Yeah, because you don't want this to become a theme because we saw people complain about it a little bit with North Texas. Even though North Texas is a much better team than ECU, we saw some complaints with allowing them to stick around. And then you get this game where in the first half you go, okay, kind of breath of fresh air. They understand the assignment, just put them away. And then it ends up being close in the end. I think 46 points, I think, is what ECU scored in the second half. And it just kind of looked like a little bit of lost interest. Like this team is not good and a little bit of playing with your food. So like maybe concerning is the word, but you just can't have these lapses happen in second halves if you build a big lead or vice versa if you allow a team to kind of stick around in the first half. It's just not something Memphis can really afford to do in conference play.
Yeah, and I know it sounds lame to always like refer back to, less fans, you're playing inferior competition. These games are just not as fun to play in as opposed to the non-con. But that's what it felt like to me. Like the first half, they came out, understood what they were supposed to do, got up by 18, took 14-point lead into the second half. But most of the issues they had in the second half and why they lost that half by 10, it was just like they weren't as locked in.
Yep.
They just lost focus after getting up big because they figured this team's going to roll over and go away because they're terrible. They're not a good team. And they didn't. And you saw Memphis like dribble it off their foot make gross, disgusting passes in transition. Like it just was a sort of collective letting go of the rope, which is why it concerns me because, okay, I'm tired. I know people get tired of this, but last year
we saw this.
Like these same trends were showing up at this same exact time. Now, again, I will reiterate, like I do every week when we talk about Tiger basketball, I don't think this is the same team. But it would be dumb for me to not mention that the trends that ultimately came back to bite that team last year have shown up in the last two conference games. So just want to point that out. And, if you play with fire too much, you get burnt. Last year's team did. I don't expect this year's team to, but I think the exact same sort of message should be shared at this moment in the season.
Yeah, and so coming off of this, Memphis has had, played this home game against ECU, and now they're going to go to Temple and to Charlotte in the next week, Thursday and Sunday. So before we talk again, they will play Temple and Charlotte on the road. There will not be a lot of people there. It will not be nationally televised games.
Hey, dude, Temple quad 2 opportunity, buddy. What are we talking? It's huge game compared to the rest of the conference schedule.
Yeah, I mean, in comparison's sake, yes, but it's kind of I hate to keep saying this because just ad nauseum, but this whole conference schedule, rinse and repeat. We're just going to be saying a lot of the same things.
Charlotte on ESPN2.
Temple is on ESPN2. I don't see anything for Charlotte, but
Temple's on ESPN2. Get it right, Kenny. Damn it. No, come on. Get it right, Kenny. Good Lord. But I think Temple's going to be a quad 2 opportunity, so we'll see how they handle themselves in that game. I will say from the ECU game, I just want to continue to shout out PJ Haggerty.
Yeah.
25 points in that game. Without him, you don't win that game. I mean, I know that sounds like completely obvious, and I'm being a captain of the obvious, but just want to mention that. And then down the stretch of that game, he made all the free throws he could to keep it at arm's length, to make sure the Tigers had a win, 10 for 10 from the free throw line. I don't know if, like, in the past we've really ever gotten that from like a lead guy. Like, free throws not coming back to bite you.
Yeah.
And Memphis is a complete upset, but PJ Haggerty handled business.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, it kind of sucks because I remember the days not that long ago when conference play for Memphis was really fun, when you got to play Cincinnati and SMU at times and UCF and some of these other teams, but it's just not fun. It's just ugly, and I feel like a lot of fans, and I don't blame them at all for this, are just kind of, following along with the season, but it's like we'll re-engage when the conference tournament and, hopefully ultimately the NCAA tournament comes around. And I like I said, I can't fault them for that, because who wants to watch these games unless you're a like diehard Memphis basketball fan? You're not tuning in to watch Memphis and Temple or Memphis and Charlotte or Memphis and Rice. Maybe Wichita State, because of what those games have been in the past, and there have been some good games between those two teams in the past. But gone are the days, at least for right now, of seeing Memphis play a meaningful, fun conference.
I mean, they're meaningful, but they're not fun.
They're
not fun at all.
No.
Like, you want to go into a game at least with like the backdrop of, oh, we have something to gain by winning this game. And you have nothing to gain until you get to the American Athletic Conference tournament.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing you have to gain by winning is just sort of staying in the same spot you're at, considering what you were able to do in your non-con, staying on the same seed line, staying in the AP poll, keeping your metrics up there. But if you play too close, if you play within the spread, you lose points off of your, metrics. You lose spots according to Net and Ken Palm and Bart Torvik. So it's just, I don't know, man. This is landmine season. That's the new name for it, as long as they're in the American Athletic Conference. And it's just not enjoyable. No. I'm sorry. I mean, you can get some good performances here and there. I mean, we saw PJ Haggerty drop 25, but it's all pressure and no real payoff, it feels like.
Yeah.
That's the problem I have with this conference and what we see game in, game out by the time they get to conference play.
Yeah, because as a fan,
what we got going here?
Graphic now that Charlotte and Memphis is also on ESPN.
Oh, okay. They moved it to ESPN too.
Yeah,
but that's 2 games off from now. We were talking about the present, Kenny.
Yeah, and now Kenny's got us in these different wide angle boxes. I don't know what's going on. Are you seeing this? There we go. Now we're in our tight boxes again.
Oh wow, that you see double. They could have a double meaning, huh? But anyway, continue.
Anyway. As a fan, and you tell me how you feel about this game, but like, it's fun to go into games and feel like threatened and like this is
of course,
challenge, and this is a big game and it's a big environment and a big feel, and there's just not any of that, and it's just kind of plodding through this schedule and getting through this gauntlet of terrible teams.
This gauntlet, like, calling it a gauntlet sucks. Like, it's a gauntlet of terrible teams.
That's exactly what it is. So let's talk about something a little bit more exciting, because this was the only game we had to talk about this week. Obviously next week, as we mentioned, we'll have a couple more, but we got to watch a future Memphis Tiger in Antwann Hill Jr. over the weekend. What All-Star game was that? Was that the All-American?
The Navy All-American Bowl.
Yeah, the All-American Bowl. And he looked really good. I do not have any official statistics in front of me, so I do not know what he had.
I don't even think they really have them tallied.
I don't think they do either. But I did see, I'm sure you saw it as well, like the 4th and 20, just laser bomb he threw down the sideline.
It was like 40 seconds to go.
Yeah.
No, it was like a corner route, deep corner.
Yeah. So I know Memphis football has had its turbulence as far as the fan base goes, and opinions on this and opinions on that. But excitement was a big talking point this year, especially offensively. Like, we needed something to be excited about. And with Antwann Hill coming in, we obviously don't know if he'll start this year or what his journey will look like at Memphis, but he looks really good. And I said this to you guys pre-show. I don't care. This is going to be a transitional season more than likely. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe with the amount of transfers that they're bringing in, they're kind of rebolstering. But like, just put him out there. I mean, your other options.
Yeah, I guess so.
Are Arrington Maiden as a redshirt freshman, and Brendan Lewis, is that the transfer's name from Nevada?
So like you're in the business of, even if it cost you like a win or two, put him in there to get his experience, take his lumps.
Yeah, because like I said, you're losing so much from this team this year. More than likely, you're not going to be as good overall as a team. Once again, I'm not blanket statement saying that things can change, but it is. It's a big transitional year. You're losing a lot of pieces. What's the point? And B, on that, what's the point of risking it? Like, because the promises have probably been made that, look, not that you're gonna start, but you're gonna have a very good chance. And let's say they decide to go with the veteran transfer and Brendan Lewis over him, and you lose Antwann Hill because you brought in a guy who really hasn't had much of a collegiate career in his own right. So it's like, just put this guy out there, let him learn, let it be a little bit of baptism by fire. Put pieces around him that can help him. Obviously, put a running game around him, put an offensive line around him, but give him those games where you turn it over to him and let him get out there and throw the ball and move around. I don't see why not. Like, what do you have to lose by that, in my opinion?
Well, I'll say this. He's definitely going to be the best talent in that room. And he's the most pure talent at quarterback that we've ever seen at the University of Memphis. Like, and the reason I say that, people will be like, well, Paxton Lynch was 29th overall pick. It's like, yeah, he was, but do you realize he ran the damn wing T when he was in high school? Like, you can't act like he was some pure throwing talent by the time he got to Memphis. So Antwann Hill Jr. is beating him there. Right? People would say Riley Ferguson. Oh, he was a 4-star, played at Tennessee, transferred in. Well, he doesn't have the same legs. He's not as well-versed in the RPO, the run-pass option, as Antwann Hill Jr. is. But in that game, and I think overall, if you just go break down his game tape, the one thing that you'll see, or the couple of things you'll see from him, is he's a big play hunter, but he's in high school, so that you put it off to the side. Of course, he's a big play hunter. Because he makes a lot of those big plays in high school against the competition he's playing. And the other thing that you'll see, and I saw some of this on Twitter, well, he holds on to the ball too long. And he did run into a couple of sacks in the Navy All-American Bowl. But what I'd say to that is, oh, my God, an 18-year-old holds on to the ball too long. Oh, here's my surprised face. Like, the complaints about the kid right now are not – they're not very valid. Now, once we see him on campus and what he can do, see if he can pick up some of these concepts, get through his progressions, those are going to be the things that are the real test. But like, when you talk about a guy who can make quick decisions when he's asked to, a guy who's well-versed in the RPO, a guy who's a capable deep ball thrower, a guy who has escapability, like, he checks all the boxes to be an elite college football quarterback. I don't know when that's actually going to develop, but I am like overly excited. And this is really, I mean, I'd have to go back through history, but I doubt there's ever been a case where we're actually watching a Memphis quarterback commit at one of the high school All-American games. Like, I think that is the first time in the history of the Memphis football program. So that in itself, to me, was just fun. And he won, I think, Navy All-American Bowl Player of the Year. So there's that. Like, he was committed to Colorado at first. Go look at what Colorado fans have to say about the kid. They loved him. He was on Shador Sanders' podcast earlier this year. Like, there's a lot of fun to anticipate in Antwann Hill Jr. stay at the University of Memphis. I'm excited to see what it looks like when he actually gets an opportunity.
Yeah, and I'm totally for, like, building this offense around him, building it toward his skill set. I think that's something that we're seeing more in the college game now, is building your offense towards a player's skill set. And so whatever that means, that changes every year. Freshman year, more of the quick passing game, RPO, stuff like that, get the ball out of his hands, make the reads easy. But also, like, take the training wheels off. Let him throw the ball. Let him hunt those big plays at times. Just do your due diligence by him, like, do what you need to do to make him as good as he can possibly be, set him up for success. And some people may say that, not starting him from year
That's
one.
What I think. So you did take the starting is the way to set him up for success. That's what we want to see too. I kind of take this a little differently because I think Brendan Lewis is capable enough. And I think like when you get bogged down with, okay, we have to start this guy because of politics and he's a high-ranking recruit, he's the future of our program. One thing you can do in the process is put him out there in a bad situation and shoot his confidence. So that's where I would caution the Memphis staff from immediately anointing him a starting quarterback. That's where I would push back there. But I don't think the one thing that, to your defense, I'll say is I don't think he's just going to have nothing around him. People are asking about the wide receiver room. They got C.J. Smith from Purdue. They have Keondae Henry still around, the 4-star from last year. Who's the Brady Cluse, who got some time this year. He looks like he's got some potential at the wide receiver position. Running backs are going to be good. O-line should be rebuilt for the most part. So I don't think it's going to be a terrible situation, but that's the one thing I would say is I don't immediately want him to be thrown into the fire if, one, he's not ready, but two, if the team's not quite ready for him to take over. That's where you could definitely sort of botch this situation.
Yeah, and I completely agree with that. If he gets out at practice and just looks like he absolutely, doesn't belong at this point in time and is super raw.
I don't see that, though.
I don't either. I'm just saying, hypothetically, if that happens, then I wouldn't throw him out there. But if he looks like the best quarterback on the roster, which talent-wise he by far and away is, and he earns that job and looks like he gives you the best chance to win, I wouldn't hesitate to put him out there. And there are coaches and there are programs that do that. Even if they have a quarterback that looks better than another one or that looks more capable than another one, because they're young, they might sit them for a year. And I don't see the point in that in this situation.
Yeah. Yes.
Now, if you're a national championship contending team, that it's like, look, this guy has super high upside, but he's going to make a lot more mistakes. So we need to go with this guy who's a little bit more of a game manager, can slow the game down, understands the game, can get us into the right looks and the right checks. That's one thing. But in this situation, like if he looks like he belongs, then let him go. Let him go play.
Yeah. My big example of what you're talking about in a lot of ways, though, is the Paxton Lynch, Jacob Karam story at the University of Memphis, where my redshirt year, my freshman year, we were 3-9, and if Jacob played, the piano man, Jacob Karam probably would have had 4 or 5 win season, something like that. Probably would have won a couple more games, but Paxton Lynch was in there, and we know the whole story about the leadership council going up to Fuente's office and asking him, "Oh, can Jacob play?" Paxton's sort of shitting the bed here in his freshman season, his redshirt freshman season. He's making too many mistakes, and you heard Fuente just tell him to F off, and there was a reason for it. There's a method to it.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not going to look back. Brendan Lewis has 1 year on this roster.
Right.
He's not the future of this program. There is a future of this program. And if I have to get that future of the program guy, my future leader, to take his lumps, to learn the hard way, then I'm going to do it that way. And that's to your point. That's the example. But this day and age is so confusing. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because if you throw him in there and he has a bad year, who's saying he's not going to transfer and get discouraged with what you're doing? You just have to play every situation based on the laurels of that situation. So we'll see how it all comes together.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, Gabe, we are going to take a quick break. On the other side, we'll have Kenny and the Hot Three.
Started in Memphis, then we went to Phoenix, And then I went to Phoenix with the guy who Jerry West, God rest his soul, told me was going to be an NBA player, who I told him was not an NBA player.
Right, and he got sent there.
He got straight, so we both get kicked out. You don't blame me, like it was my fault. I have so many stories about the Phoenix time, why I was only there for 3. There's a real reason
I know.
why I was only 3 games. Dysfunctional at a high level.
Dysfunctional at a high level. To the point where you said, I need out.
Frank Johnson was the head coach, and we're at practice. It was a heated practice, so Frank takes us to the other end of the court. Why don't y'all let y'all play and let me coach? And bro, in the next breath it was, you can't coach.
Because you can't coach.
Damn.
So my buddy, Matrix was he just said it and stood there. I was like, oh damn.
Wow.
This shit ain't good.
Tune in to the Night Court podcast with your hosts, Rob Fisher and Brevin Knight, on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
I'm not sure what could be the solution to the turnovers other than the generic, they got to value possessions.
The turnovers were just so disgusting. You know what I mean? Like they're dribbling off the foot, lazy passes, just not paying attention. Like I don't know. I mean, that's just locking in more. But I don't know how to measure that. But like that's not a measurable thing. So I think it's just an extra level of focus that they have got to get to, even when there's not people in the stands, even when they're playing a bad team, an inferior opponent. Because I've seen them lock in. I've seen them not make those mistakes in the biggest games of the year. They just have to carry that over and have that same intensity when they play the East Carolinas and the Rices and the Charlottes of the world.
Tune in to Tigers Live with Francis Carlotta, live after every Memphis Tiger basketball game on the Bluff City Media YouTube channel.
What up, boy?
Hey, come on down, brother.
Hey,
what's happening?
listen,
Shiver me timbers.
I am man enough to apologize, and I feel like I owe both of you guys an apology right now.
I like when you apologize.
I
feel like I deserve.
I feel like I was not on my game at all during that first segment, and I'd like to apologize. I really ruined y'all with the banners and with the graphics.
You were
and stuff
on your
like that.
game.
I
You're
wasn't
behind
on my
this. You
game.
didn't even talk.
Oh, exactly. That's why I need to apologize. That's like the easiest thing in the world to do, and I just messed it up for y'all.
No, you're fine, dude. You're fine. you're all good. Shiver me timbers.
But you guys were amazing in that first segment. Like, you guys were
Thanks,
awesome.
man. Thank you. Appreciate it.
It's good to see y'all, man. Gabe, you old haggard looking mother effer.
Dude, yeah. Yeah. We had a conversation.
Do it.
No, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not doing my Scottish accent. We're not doing it.
Oh man,
my shitty Scottish accent. I may add. It's not actually Scottish.
Just tell me I'm a wizard, please.
No,
Just tell
I'm
me
not gonna do it. No. It's gotta be spur of the
It's gotta be
moment.
natural. It's gotta be
Yeah,
natural.
you can't do that to me. What
Listen,
are you doing?
you're trying to. There are rumors that you are trying out for the new Hagrid role in the Harry Potter television series. Is
I'll
this
do
true?
it as long as we don't have to film in the UK or anything, because the food there is absolute garbage.
You wouldn't eat what's
Mushy
it called?
peas. You want some mushy peas?
Don't they put
Vegas
like
and
barbecue beans on everything? Like, isn't that like
It's not even
breakfast?
barbecue beans. They're just like sweet beans.
Just like regular beans.
Yeah, and then they have like mushrooms and tomatoes in their English breakfast. Who the hell does that? Give me the fattening shit. Give me bacon,
And
sausage,
pancakes and
and
sauce,
pancakes, and a
maple
big ass
syrup,
thing of hash browns. And, yeah, give me that.
fried apples.
Oh, wait, what?
Yeah.
Fried apples?
You've never have y'all?
What the fuck?
I'm an old man.
That
I'm an
doesn't
old
have
man.
anything to be do
Fried
with
apples?
that.
Who the hell fries apples?
You've never seen a fried apple, have you?
apple fritter, maybe.
No, have y'all never been to Cracker
Fried
Barrel?
apples.
They're apples.
They have
Fried
they're
apples.
They're so good.
I bet a candied apple, a caramel apple.
No.
Never have heard or
No.
had a fried apple.
They're so good. Go get them next time you go. Go
I
get
think
'em.
you are. I think you're making this up.
I don't think so. All right, y'all ready to get
fry an apple? Do you bread the apple? Like, we're not just moving past this.
Are you like an apple pie?
Well, I mean, it's not technically like breaded fried. It's more like crispy apple, like then you put like glaze. Oh man,
I don't think this is a thing, but
okay,
you got it, dude.
Go to Cracker Barrel next time. We're gonna film an On the Bluff episode at Cracker Barrel.
Is Cracker Barrel not the most like perfectly named restaurant ever?
It really is. It is.
Like there are names for things that are just like Cracker
barrels of crackers.
The barrel with crackers, yeah.
Barrel of crackers.
Yeah,
you want to find a cracker?
Very aptly named restaurant.
You want to find a cracker? Go to the barrel.
Okay, so they don't look like actually fried.
Yes,
but that's like the filling they put in like an
apple pie.
Yeah, or apple crumble, something like that.
They're delicious. I get a large helping when I go. I love it.
Sugar apples, basically.
Yes.
So good. All right. Y'all ready? Let's get to the hot three. Now that I'm hungry and want some fried apples from Cracker Barrel, let's get to the hot three. Boys, we got to talk about the NFL wildcard round. I mean, dude, it was a lot of fun. A couple of really good games, but I really want us to start on game of the week, and that is the Denver Broncos versus the Buffalo Bills. Let's talk about that game.
You jackass. All right, full disclosure. When we did our pre-show meeting, we were talking about like the wild card round. And the one game I had nothing to really say about was the Bills versus Broncos. Only things I can say is 31 unanswered points after Bo Nix had the opening touchdown. So that was pretty rough for the Broncos, who had a good defense all year. Josh Allen's really good. And Sean Payton didn't call a good game. Like, it was just it went about how I thought it would, quite frankly. I was the whole week leading up to that game to see all of the powers that be, the national media members in the NFL, like saying, is this a likely upset? Do you think this is going to be an upset? I'm sitting there like, no. Broncos are not going to beat the Bills at their place. It was just never a realistic proposition.
They're not ready. I think I know how I want to tackle this one, Gabe. I think I got a decent idea for this. Who or what team? So, what individual or what team were you most impressed with during Wild Card Weekend? Because it's not Super Wild Card Weekend. I don't know if you noticed they dropped the Super off.
Yeah.
But now it's just back to regular Wild Card Weekend.
I mean, I'd have to go with the Bills though. Like in that situation, and Josh Allen. You just look at the way they played that game. Josh Allen was efficient, threw for nearly 300 yards, 272, no interceptions. James Cook and that offensive line were locked in, ready to go, 120 yards for him and a touchdown. And they just thoroughly dominated their matchup. So I'll give it to them. I think if you're going to go with a close second.
What if you take mine, though?
Okay. You go ahead. You go ahead, Kristen.
It's probably not. I think you were going a different direction. But to me, it was the Texans, and even more specifically, the Texans defense, because this is a game that I really thought the Chargers were going to win this game. I didn't have much belief in the Texans. It looked really ugly for them for the majority of the year. If they're playing better teams or better defenses, their offense looks stuck in neutral the entire game. If they can't get the running game going with Joe Mixon, then they don't really have much else outside of that, which is shocking with how C.J. Stroud played last year. But they really dominated this game, even though it started out terribly for them. I mean, Chargers go right down the field, kick a field goal, and then I think right after that was John Mechie fumbled. And the Chargers got the ball in plus territory. It looked like they could go up 10-0 here. Defense stands up, hold them to another field goal, so it's 6-0. And then what? The Texans end up winning this game like 32-12. So they dominated after that opening sequence. They forced 4 interceptions from Justin Herbert. They really shut down the running game, which is what we know Greg Roman and Jim Harbaugh want to do. The only thing they couldn't stop was Ladd McConkey, who was incredible in this game, 9 catches for 197 and a touchdown, set the rookie playoff record. But outside of that fumble from John Mechie, an interception from C.J. Stroud, and the long touchdown from Ladd McConkey, like the Texans dominated this game, and I didn't expect that at all.
Yeah, I heard Land McConkey likes eating at Cracker Barrel, and he likes fried apples as well. Yeah, and he's super. He's sneaky.
An excellent
He's
wide
sneaky
receiver.
athletic, by the way. He's also first one in, last one to leave. Real student of the game.
High IQ football player.
What do you think of the Ravens this weekend?
Yes, they're up there as well too. I just wanted to go a little bit differently with that, but Baltimore kind of did what they've done all year, and we saw for the majority of the season, Derrick Henry played around 50% of the snaps, and that was kind of them saving him for the late season and the playoff push. And so you've got some, and I know he still had the second most carries in the league, so I'm not saying he wasn't used this year, but this is why they kept him decently fresh, and they leaned heavily on him in this game. They knew they could attack the Steelers with the running game because they played them 2 or 3 weeks ago, and Derrick had 162 yards, so they leaned on him. They leaned on all the action off of that with Lamar Jackson, whether that was in the passing game or with him using his legs. I think their second drive of the game, they went 13 plays, 85 yards, and every single one of those was a running play. They ran the ball 13 consecutive times and ended that drive in the end zone. How'd they score on that drive? Was that Derrick Henry that scored on that drive?
I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was his.
It was a
5 yard.
It was like an 8 yard.
8 yards. So there's shorter rushing touchdown. So they dominated the Steelers, which I know some people were like, Ravens are on upset watch because it's the Steelers and Lamar doesn't play well against the Steelers. But they just look dialed in right now. And they did this without Zay Flowers, who is their biggest weapon in the passing game.
Well, that's my biggest thing about the Ravens. One, you go into a divisional matchup playing a team for the third time. That's hard to do. And it's definitely hard to recreate what you did a few weeks ago on the ground, because that's something you figure that they're going to practice for, be ready for. I know it's hard to prepare for Derrick Henry's big ass. I understand that. But for him to go for 186 and 2 touchdowns, damn impressive. Because what do I tell everybody every single year about come January, February? Who's going to run the damn ball? Who is going to be able to impose their damn will in the cold conditions? And like the Ravens, that showed a little bit of grit. They had some grit about them. Not that they don't usually. But I think this makes me believe a whole lot more next round against the Bills, and we'll get to that in a second. I do have to do something real quick though, and you already mentioned like the Texans and handling the Chargers. Justin Herbert, that negative energy is very deserved now. That negative, like, oh, you don't win enough, you haven't won a playoff game energy, that needs to be at the forefront of any conversation we have about Justin Herbert, because he had 3 interceptions all year. He gets to the playoffs and throws 4 in one game, and then they get their ass kicked when they probably shouldn't have. So that was tough for me to watch, because I'm a huge Justin Herbert fan, man.
Yeah,
huge Justin Herbert fan.
And I like Justin Herbert a lot too, but this has always been my thing with him. He never seems to be the guy that shows up in the moment, and he's only played in 2 playoff games. One, I think he was up 27-0 or whatever. Against the Jaguars a couple years ago. They came back and won that game, and then he threw 4 picks in this game. So pretty disappointing on that front. But you wanna talk about Bills Ravens, because that is.
Well, I wanted to ask you real quick. AJ Brown on the sideline reading Inner Excellence.
Strange.
Why was the reaction the way it was? Like, we're in a different day, aren't we? Like 2024, 2025. It's just a weird time. There's a lot of people like, oh, that's pretty cool. He's locked in with a self-help book on the sideline. It's like, no dude, that's bizarre. And he's making it about him like that. Was AJ so weird.
AJ Brown. It's been weird for AJ Brown this year, because typically you don't hear much from him. Like, he's not one of the like big talker receivers that you see a bunch of. But like this year, he's kind of shown that he cares way more about individual success than team success, at least from the outside looking in.
There was a game where they won by like 20 some odd. I forget which game it was, and Saquon had like 200 yards rushing.
Yeah.
And the whole conversation was about AJ Brown ripping Jalen Hurts a new one on the sideline. It's like, and people were taking AJ Brown's side, and I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. Like, they won the game.
Team success matters, and if you have team success, you should usually keep your mouth shut. Yeah. Now, I will say this about wide receivers: have long stood on I want my wide receiver to be a little bit selfish, like my wide receiver one should be he should have a screw loose. Like I'm cool with that. I like Diva.
There's an extent to it.
But there's a point to it where if I'm winning by 20 plus points and my running back is playing like the offensive player of the year, I should be a little more understanding about the way things are going if I'm not getting the ball.
Absolutely. So let's before we move on to our next topic, let's talk Bills Ravens, because that has everybody excited. That is the game of the year, at least up to this point. It's two of the top three, if not the top two teams in the AFC meeting. A lot of people are saying this is like it's going to be an AFC championship game environment, which it will be because it's in Buffalo. It's the two quarterbacks that are in the running for the MVP, two teams that are in the running to win a Super Bowl, and two of the maybe 4 or 5 teams in the entire league that most people feel like can win a Super Bowl. So it should be a great game. Both of these teams just blew out their opponent in the wild card round. Obviously a lot of history because it's Lamar, it's Josh Allen. They've met multiple times, being in the same conference and being two of the better teams in the conference over the last several years. So it should be an extremely intriguing game, and I really don't know how this one's going to play out. Like I just don't really have a bead on this game for how it's going to go.
Yeah. You know what's getting hot, guys? You know what's getting real hot?
What?
My chili, man. My chili's getting hot about this game, buddy. Come on. What else could you want to do on a January Sunday when the scaries are hitting at 5:30 p.m. Central? What else would you want? You can't ask for more.
You can't.
And this quarterback battle is as good as I can think of. Obviously, we've had Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, and everything like that. But considering these are the top 2 MVP candidates, like this is the best quarterback matchup I've seen in the last 5 to 10 years. I mean, this is going to be so interesting to watch. And it's gonna. I know that the MVP is a regular season award, but the narrative conversation is going to be heavy depending on who wins this game.
Yeah,
the narrative about who is the rightful MVP, who won it. Like this is a lot is hinging on this weekend in the public and how we discuss the MVP award this year.
Yeah, and I just don't know if it's going to be like, do both teams go into this game saying we're going to try to grind the other one out? I mean, that's definitely one scenario that you can see happening with Derrick Henry, with James Cook, and how good the running game has been in Buffalo. Or is it just throw caution to the wind, shootout type of game between the two best quarterbacks in the league this year? I feel like there's just so many ways this game can play out that it's going to be great. I don't think it.
Well,
I mean, how it plays out or what the game plan is coming in. Like this should be the game of the year.
Let's not we have to mention this. It was way early in the season. It was week 4. But the Ravens beat the brakes off the Bills week 4, 35-10.
Derrick Henry went.
And Derrick Henry opened the game on a 60-some-odd yard touchdown. 87-yard touchdown run. Finished with 199. So if we're going by what you said, grind it out style, let's see who's tougher in January, I think the Ravens probably have the edge there. I mean, I've seen it before, and I just think that they are very well built for this time of year. Because both teams have like the dual threat quarterback running back duo in the backfield, but I think that it's pretty clear Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry do that better.
Yeah, I just think if you're Joe Brady and Sean McDermott going in this game, you just say, look, we have the best player in the league this year. We got to go let him win it. Because
and I'm going to lean on him to throw the ball, man. He's been very good with keeping the ball out of harm's way in the passing game.
And if you want to beat the Ravens, you got to build a lead. You're probably not going to beat them in a mix it up, run the ball 3 yards in a cloud of dust and play defense game. You got to let Josh Allen deal. And Baltimore secondary has been playing better as of recently, but for the majority of the year, they were one of the worst secondaries in the league. So you got to let Josh Allen go out there, try to win this game, build a lead, and keep Derrick Henry off the field as much as possible.
Bills Mafia in rare form this weekend.
Oh, it's going to be nuts. It's going to be nuts. All right, Kenny, topic number 2.
Okay, I need your help, Christian. I'm going to walk through a timeline with you, okay?
Okay.
Week 18, Jerry Jones comes out and he says, Mike McCarthy is my guy. I love him. Great coach. Just heaps praise all over him.
I'd let him date my daughter. You know,
I'd let him date my daughter. Yeah, he'd be I'd let him be the uncle to my grandkids, whatever. Then, for some reason, Mike McCarthy's agent in their contract with Dallas said, even though he doesn't have a contract, we're going to agree to a no contact clause in the contract where nobody else can talk to him, nobody else can reach out. Even if all these coaching opportunities are coming open, we have the right to first negotiations with Mike McCarthy. Then today it comes out that they've parted ways.
Yep.
Troy Aikman blasted the organization, came out and was like, there is no plan. This job is not as coveted as you think it is, all that kind of stuff. Brother, what are your thoughts on this? Is this just another example of the craziness in which Jerry Jones and his family deal with this this franchise?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it tells you all you need to know. That they were apparently in negotiations. The Bears requested to interview him. They denied the request. So all signs are like, okay, they're going to get this done if they're denying a request for him to interview for a job. And then it comes out today that they couldn't agree on the length of the contract, which would make me think that the Cowboys side probably wanted like a 2-year deal. Mike McCarthy and his agent probably wanted a 4+ year deal, probably around that amount of time. And they were too split apart on it that they could not make it work. And so now it's like, okay, you could have had a little bit of a head start on this. You could have already interviewed like Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn if you wanted to do that. Now you can't until after this game because they're on to this week. And it's just poorly managed. It just shows you kind of everything that we talk about and that we know goes on behind the scenes. It's just poorly ran. And so now you're looking at like, okay, Belichick's come up as an option. He would have to have his buyout clause at North Carolina, this is a possibility that we talked about as soon as Belichick got hired at North Carolina. So that's an option. And it's like, obviously, Ben Johnson's going to be out there. Aaron Glenn's probably going to be interviewed. He has ties to the Cowboys, played for the Cowboys later in his career. Brian Flores, I don't remember if we talked – I think we talked about on Gabe's show last week, Brian Flores. Vrabel's gone now. Please, God, no Kellen Moore. Do not bring him back.
He's the favorite.
He's the favorite right now.
He's the favorite to be their next head coach.
If they let McCarthy go for Kellen Moore, that is absolutely idiotic. But with my guess, they're probably going to retread. It's probably going to be like a Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll would be my guess, just because that's what he does, what Jerry does. Like I
don't think that would be bad at all.
Huh?
I don't think that would be a bad idea at all.
I don't think it would be bad, but it's like Pete's 73 years old.
Listen, I got to be honest. They've tried everything. Chan Gailey was the offensive guru they brought in the late 90s. They tried Wade Phillips as the defensive guru.
Bill Parcells.
Bum Phillips. They tried the Super Bowl winners, Bill Parcells and Mike McCarthy. Yep. You've tried the in-house coach and waiting thing with Jason Garrett. What all this says to me is the same things that we always talk about, man. It's just until they find a coach that's willing to get in Jerry's face and force him to collaborate instead of acting like, he's the smartest man in the room all the time. It could be Vince Lombardi coaching. I don't give a damn. It could be anybody coaching in their prime, and you're still going to get the same early playoff, bounces that you always get. Like that's why I say Pete Carroll's not a bad idea. Like at least he's done it before. And that's why he instills.
That's why I'm kind of getting back on the Bill Belichick train, because if anybody will stand up and get in his face, it's him.
But but then the second part of that is Jerry willing to allow that to perpetuate for longer than a year?
Exactly.
So it's just they've tried everything.
Yeah. And that's like when you look at Ben Johnson's kind of come out and said, or at least people around him have said, like he's going to be very picky about where he goes to. Like he wants the right situation, basically an owner that's going to allow him to bring the players in that he wants to bring in. So that right there to me marks him out, because you look at all the rumors that kind of circulated around the Cowboys over the last couple of years for like free agency and stuff. Like it was well known that that Dan Quinn wanted Bobby Wagner and Frankie Luvu. And Dallas didn't end up with either one of those guys, but look where they are now. They're in Washington with Dan Quinn because he wanted those guys and because Josh Harris allowed him to go get those guys. And so if you don't have an organization that's willing to get you the players that you see fit your system, it's not attractive. I get how people on the outside looking in could say, oh, it's an attractive job. You've got Dak, you've got CD, you've got, Michael Parsons, all these players. But if the organization and the ownership don't allow you to bring in the other players, then it doesn't matter. And I don't think that the Cowboys are an organization willing to do that.
What's wild, though, is like the difference in the way Josh Harris talks versus Jerry Jones. Have you seen those side-by-side examples?
I saw one today.
Josh Harris and Magic Johnson were talking to the media last night, as Magic Johnson's a minority owner of the Washington Commanders as well. And like the reporters up there, like trying to give them a whole bunch of credit, like congratulations, this, that, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, thank you. But at the same time, you got to understand this is a collaborative effort and we're just the money givers.
Yeah.
We give the money to the guys that make the football decisions. And that's what you saw on the field.
Yeah.
He immediately pointed to everyone else who actually makes the football decisions. He's like,
and that's exactly how
we just have the money. And then you compare that to a guy like Jerry Jones, and it was this year. He talked about when he was buying the Cowboys, he was buying something, it wasn't for his kids. It wasn't for anybody else. It was for him. It was for his future employment and what he wanted to do.
Yeah.
So as long as he lives, he's going to try to be the main decision maker where, an owner like Josh Harris is probably the best thing for the Commanders right now. He takes over the team, hires good people, and lets those good people do their job.
Yeah. Nope. Couldn't have said it any better myself. And
what do y'all?
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. You got it.
I was just going to say, I know they're going to find a way to botch this. Like,
damn.
If you are,
sometimes don't you feel bad for Christian? Sometimes
I do. I really do feel bad.
I don't know. Like I was a St. Louis Rams fan, and I didn't have this much doom and gloom about that team. Even
it's just
I still thought they were going to make the playoffs, even when they went 2-14 with Steve Spagnuolo. I was always high hopes. Christian has no hopes at all.
I think the problem is like you do see the franchise and how profitable it is, how legendary it is, the pieces that they have, and the people, the coaches that would want to come and coach there. Like it's the easiest job in the world to sell, and yet one person
ruins the whole thing.
One person makes all of the selling points.
Because I was going to ask you this, and you kind of mentioned it a little bit, Christian. If you're Ben Johnson's agent, do you tell him no? That is not the place for you to go for your first head coaching job.
Yeah, because you're going to fail.
Because you're going to fail.
Because you're not going to be able to bring in the pieces that you want to bring in to run the show. And
it could be 5 years, it could be 7 years, it could be 10 years, but you're eventually going to get fired.
Right. Yeah, it's never going to be longevity and success because you're going to have one hand tied behind your back the entire time.
And I think that's what Troy Aikman was trying to say.
That's 100%.
Yeah, and I think he's nail on the head, 100% right.
Like it could be prosperous for a while. You could make a lot of money, but if you want to win a Super Bowl,
it's not the place to go.
It's not the place to go.
Which is crazy because Dallas should be the place to go. If you are a first-time head coach, if you're Bill Belichick that put a poison pill in your UNC contract so you could go to any other, you should want to go there. And I think Bill is probably the kind of person that would say, yeah, I can get in there and right this ship. I can do that. Like, I'll do that. And he might be the guy to do it. Like, he could be potentially the guy to do it. But if you're a guy like Ben Johnson, you just go, man, I don't want my first coaching job to be our head coaching position. I don't want to be hamstrung. I don't want to be one hand tied behind my back. It doesn't work.
Last quick thing, then we'll move on. Mike McCarthy, do you think he'll get a job this cycle?
I see a lot of people saying the same. Like
I've seen Bears and Saints.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. If the Bears hire him, I think they're embarrassed. I mean, the Bears are very unserious right now.
Very.
But the Saints would make. I mean, although that's a terrible situation, it could not be. It's probably the worst of all the jobs open right now.
It is. Ooh. No, it absolutely is.
They're $60 million in the hole headed into next year cap-wise.
And on what?
With no quarterback.
Nothing.
Yeah, with who? Nothing. Who have they spent their money on?
It's all carryovers.
It's all backloaded.
Derek Carr had a big ass contract. Cameron Jordan had a big ass contract. Yeah, Tyrann Mathieu. I don't know what.
Probably still paying Michael Thomas.
Yeah,
somehow.
probably still paying a bunch of money for all these guys that are gone. But like they had the chance to just like pivot when Drew Brees got done, and they never pivoted. They just kept making slight restructures before the season to get cap. What's the word? Like cap friendly, at least to pass the check mark heading into season. They would just restructure all these contracts and keep pushing the money down the road. And that's where they're at right now. And I think for them, I mean, if Mike McCarthy takes the Saints job, though, he knows it's not going to work out, right? Like it's not that's a short term. Hey, let me get a couple of
let me get some dollars.
Let me get some money before I ride off into the sunset.
Yeah.
Real quick, before we move on to the third and final topic, Teddy Bruschi was talking about Mike Vrabel getting picked up as the New England head coach, and he talked about the fact that there was too much collaboration in New England's franchise this year. That Mike Vrabel is going to come in and he is going to be the dictator. Y'all like the Vrabel hire? And
what do you mean? There's too much.
What are your thoughts on Teddy Bruschi? What he said? I know you probably haven't heard it, but
what the hell does he mean? There's too much collaboration. Is my first question.
He was saying Gerard Mayo wasn't strong enough to be the head coach. That he was too like whatever you guys want to do.
I don't think he was saying that because I heard him say in the same sentence that he didn't think Gerard Mayo got a fair shake and should have been fired.
That's a nice thing to say, but he was definitely.
I mean, that's what it sounds like.
He's definitely saying Gerard Mayo wasn't the guy.
But also, Teddy Bruschi only played for Bill Belichick, so it's like I don't know how to. Like, there is a happy medium between Gerard Mayo and Bill Belichick.
And it might be Mike Vrabel.
It doesn't have to be one way or the other. You can have a collaborative situation that works.
I love Vrabel though. Vrabel probably would have been my number one.
Yeah.
For who I wanted the Cowboys to get. Like I think Vrabel's he's good.
Yeah. I like it. I like it a bunch. I think it makes a bunch of sense. Sort of brings the Patriot way back.
Yeah, 100%.
I liked the pickup, but I thought Bruschi's comments were a little strange. I'll be a little bit weird.
Yeah, I don't really get that because I think Teddy Bruschi's like Patriot way pilled. Like he's drinking the Kool-Aid, the Bill Belichick Kool-Aid a little too much.
Yeah, he was almost getting emotional talking about Vrabel. It was pretty wild. It was wild. All right, topic number 3. Oh man, college football playoffs is winding down. Last college football game of the year. Notre Dame versus Ohio State for the national championship.
It just sounds weird.
I want to talk about this game, but I want y'all to kind of walk me through like the road to get there. So Notre Dame's road to get to the championship game, Ohio State's road, and what are your thoughts about this game?
Ohio State should blow them out of the water.
Way to walk them through the walk our listeners through the road there. Yeah, I think it'll be a 17-point plus win for Ohio State, but
they're 9-point
did ask about the road to get there.
The road to get there. I mean, Notre Dame they beat Georgia, who had a backup quarterback. They beat Penn State, who I said this on your show, Gabe, last week. Stop with the stupid Drew Aller stuff. He's not good. He's never been good. He's Will Levis 2.0. He has a great arm. He's big. His stature is perfect, but he sucks at playing quarterback. Stop. I don't get it.
Sucks. Come on.
I thought Christian really liked Will Levis. I thought he was a big Will Levis fan when he came out.
Sucks is a lot.
He sucks. He's not good. He will never. I could be wrong. I will always preface it with that. There's always room for error in sports. Crazy things happen. I didn't think Bo Nix was going to be great. I didn't think Justin Herbert was going to be as good as he was coming out. I don't ever see Drew Aller being any kind of even remotely decent in the NFL because he's not good. He's not good. Some crazy things
for Penn State, though. He's kind of the J.J. McCarthy for Penn State.
He's not even as good. He's not even close to as good as
relatively efficient. Has gotten them to better places than they've ever been in the Final Four.
No, J.J. McCarthy is way better than.
No, I'm not saying that's not what I'm saying. Like he's more naturally talented, throws the ball harder and farther, and yes, I get all that. But like I'm saying, like Drew Aller is James Franklin's version of Jim Harbaugh's J.J. McCarthy.
Agreed.
Because before this was Sean Clifford, and
you're right.
Who was it? Trace McSorley and shit. Like this guy, he's got more than the guys who came ahead of him that were there previously.
Yeah, but he's not good. And he showed it in this game. He couldn't do anything. And yes, their receiving core is not great, but he's not great either. I mean, he was like 11 of 25 for 140 yards and an interception. He's not good. Good God, please, people watch film. He's not that good. He lost in this game. They should have won this.
It was nuts. It's like,
it was terrible. It was terrible.
I was trying to throw it at his feet, and I'm like, well, you didn't.
You did not.
Tell me, like, damn. If you're trying to throw it at his feet, you overshot it by like 10 yards. What are we doing here?
So to me, like, Notre Dame had a not an easy road, but it wasn't
Georgia.
It wasn't super difficult. Yeah, they beat Georgia with Gunnar Stockton at quarterback.
Okay.
But
who's better? Who's better, Drew Allar
or Gunnar Stockton?
Gunnar Stockton.
Drew Allar.
Can I ask you a real opinion though?
Yeah.
Do you think Carson Beck makes that big a difference in that game? Because I didn't watch that game and think like, oh, Gunnar Stockton dropped the ball. I thought it was Georgia having some very bad situational plays. Out of half, allowing a touchdown return and things like that. And then, the Gunnar Stockton turnover leading to the score before half was Gunnar Stockton.
Right.
Let's not act like Carson Beck didn't have his fair amount of turnovers this year.
I agree. I'm not on the Carson Beck train either. But with Notre Dame, Marcus Freeman's awesome. I am a massive Marcus Freeman fan. Like he gets it. He understands it. Played at Ohio State. Like he knows ball and he knows the guys and he knows the locker room. I'm a huge Marcus Freeman fan. I just don't know if Notre Dame can hold up. Riley Leonard is just not good. He's just not. Okay. Too far. He's very limited. He's very limited, and being limited against Ohio State is a tall order.
That's fair
for a quarterback that's limited. Is there a path where Notre Dame wins this game? Absolutely. We've seen Ohio State be shut down before. They were shut down by Michigan. Penn State held them at bay for the majority of the game. So can they be stopped? Yes. Is Notre Dame the perfect team to do it? Absolutely, because look at their secondary and what they can match up against Jeremiah Smith and Emeka Egbuka. But I'm just going to go talent in this situation. And I think Ohio State has a lot more talent, and I just don't trust Riley Leonard to win the game. If they find a way to win it on the ground with Jeremiah Love and their core of running backs and play really good defense, okay. But outside of that, I just don't see a path. I think Ohio State is by far the better team, and if Riley Leonard is asked to win this game, it's very hard for me to see him do that.
Is there any other quarterbacks in college football you want to call not good?
I just can't stand. I can't stand when people crown quarterbacks that are not.
Yeah,
good.
no, I'm with you. But I will say, like, Ohio State just, and shout out, I'll give credit where credit's due on this. Kyron Samuels, my co-host on G5 Classified right here on the Bluff City Believe podcast network. He's coined this about Ohio State dozens of times. But they had, during the regular season and in the college football playoff, they had the most erasers of any team in college football. And what that means is when things aren't going right, they have guys that just erase all the bad feelings, that make things look a whole lot better for that team. But they have a bunch on the offensive side of the ball. Will Howard in his own right's kind of been that in the college football playoffs. But Quinshawn Judkins, Travion Henderson, Emeka Egbuka, Jeremiah Smith, their offensive line's been phenomenal. You know, like they just are locked in great across the board on the offensive side of the ball. Then you have JT Tuamalo, Jack Sawyer, who on 3rd and 4th down against Texas on that goal line stand made the plays to go help them go win the game. But that wasn't before. Guess what? They run a toss sweep. Texas does on 2nd down, and there's Caleb Downs coming from his free safety spot all the way down to stuff that thing 5 yards into the backfield after 2 straight offense or defensive pass interferences that put Texas on the 1 freaking yard line on 1st and goal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's what it means by erasers. They'll erase your bad plays and make you forget about them. So Caleb Downs is one of those guys, Jack Sawyer, JT Tuamalo.
Denzel Burke can be.
Yeah, they're just loaded across the board. And that's why I've been asking the question throughout the college football playoff, was it always Ohio State? Because I always felt like it was. They spent $20 million in NIL. They brought in more talent per capita than anybody in the country. They just
think
had
about
those 2 losses that made us rethink them as a team.
Yeah. Think about this game. They have the best running back room in the country. They have the best wide receiver room in the country. They have the best secondary in the country, and they probably have the best defensive line in the country.
Yeah.
That's insane. Like, that is insane.
So I mean, it just comes a point where talent doesn't always win, but when you have 4 times the talent of the team that you're playing, it probably wins. You know.
There's a reason why. There's a reason why the same teams are in the championship games every single year. What do y'all's? What's Notre Dame's pathway to win? I know you kind of shared it a little bit, Christian, but how can Notre Dame win this game?
Yeah, I just like I said, they have a
Catholic miracle.
Yeah, they have but they have an extremely good.
Holy Spirit better be on their side.
They probably have the only secondary that you can stack up against Ohio State's, and that's without Benjamin Morrison, who is probably the best corner going into this year's draft. So they have guys that could potentially limit Jeremiah Smith, Emeka Egbuka, Carnell Tate, and some of these guys are also very good up front. Potentially they could slow down Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins. And then offensively, they would just have to grind Ohio State. They'd have to do what Michigan did. They just have to run the ball, give it to Jeremiah Love 25 times, let Riley Leonard run the ball 15 to 20 times, and just eat clock.
That's what
I got to be honest.
Fall into the end zone a couple of times, but that's the only way I see.
This may sound hot takey. I wouldn't be surprised if this was like a 3-point showing for Notre Dame in the national.
I wouldn't either.
Oh, wow. I just don't see. I don't see how they realistically move the ball, because the way they won that Penn State game, let's go back and look at it, like Jaden Greathouse wide open, sort of on the switch release wheel route down the sideline. That doesn't happen against Ohio State.
No.
It's very eerily similar to the 2 years that Georgia won a national championship, especially on the defensive side of the ball, where everybody else in college football always bust coverages.
Yeah,
Ohio State's so damn good, and they just stay. They have good eyes in their secondary. They play smart. They don't allow you to get behind them. And I will say for Ohio State, offensively, I think they just saw a way better secondary than they're going to play than against Notre Dame. Like Jahdae Barron, Andrew Mukuba, Muhammad, like those guys for Texas are dudes, bro. Like they are guys. And I think that's a better secondary than what you're going to get against Notre Dame. So, I mean, Will Howard made some really damn clutch throws down the stretch of that game. Jeremiah Smith only called for 3 yards. I don't think that's going to happen again. So, how does Notre Dame win? I really think it just takes a lot of luck and a lot of Ohio State mistakes. Yeah. And if we have seen anything through the college football playoff, they have not been making a ton of those. No.
I think it's probably going to end up looking very similar to the last time Notre Dame made their way to the national championship against Alabama. I think that was like 42-3 or something like that.
Yeah, I hope it doesn't look that bad.
Yeah, let's not let it do that
steamrolled. But all right, boys, that is going to wrap us up for the night. If you are watching on YouTube, you can like, subscribe, and comment there. If you're listening via podcast, whether that's on Apple, Spotify, or any other podcast platform, you can do the same there. You can also go to bluffcitymedia.co, check out all the articles, podcasts, and videos on the site. Once again, we appreciate you guys for joining us, and we will see you back here next week.
Thank you for listening to On the Bluff. If you enjoyed this episode, leave a rating and a review wherever you download your podcasts. Also, like and subscribe to Bluff City Media's YouTube page. Head over to www.bluffcitymedia.co for comprehensive coverage of Memphis sports and how you can become an insider.